Most of the time that businesses struggle or don't achieve their objectives is because they ignore the most powerful practice that gives them the perspective to be able to make adjustments, and that is reflection. And in today's episode, I talk about how reflection is a powerful tool for growth, but I take you through 5 core functions of your business: your vision and goals, your marketing, your operational excellence, your sales, and your self-mastery and leadership, with 4 reflection questions for each and every bucket with clear action steps to give you the information that you're looking for, the ability to celebrate all your wins, and to set your clear goals to be able to achieve the vision that you're setting out to build. And really setting clear goals and using data from previous interactions and reflections is how to operate in alignment. So we have to understand that iterations are the way to build and win. Iterations are the way to make adjustments, to stay in progress and stay in building. And so I flexed my own muscle. I created a questionnaire, went through all the core functions, ran these by my clients, like those. And that's what you have in today's episode. And so I break down these 5 buckets. I share with you the questions and some stories, some adjustments that we've made to help you create space to wrap up this year, to have clarity on what actions to take to keep building your vision and bring it into alignment. And this is one of those episodes that I invite you to save. It's not one to listen to and do the exercise once. It's one to listen to, do the exercises, answer the questions, and come back to. Reference when you need it later. Come back in 3 months and check your progress by asking the same questions again. Come back in 6 months and make adjustments as needed, because these core functions are all the functions that will bring your vision and your business to life and gives you clarity on what works, what's not working, and what adjustments you can take to help you bring it into integrity. And so without further ado, we're going to get into the episode. And if I can help you with any of these or in any way, also feel free to reach out. You know how to get a hold of me on Instagram. But now let's get into the show. Everybody, welcome back. It's that time of year. Reflection time is here. I would sing you Christmas songs, I would sing you Christmas carols, but I can't carry a tune to save my life. And so you're just going to be stuck with my speaking voice. But as today starts, as this podcast starts, what we're going to be focusing on is how the year is coming to a close. And it's the perfect time. And I mean, there's no better time than now to pause, reflect, and set a clear path for the year ahead. And the year ahead doesn't start in January 1st. It doesn't start down the road. It starts today. It starts with the gift that we give ourselves of reflection. And so first, I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for making it another year as an entrepreneur. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for being a part of my community. Thank you for putting up with my crazy, my tears, my journey, and loving me in the process, as rising tides rise all ships, and we're on this journey together. And so today, I'm going to be making this episode direct and to the point, with clear questions, takeaways, and reflection points for you to look at the big core needle movers or the buckets in your business. So we're going to be going over vision and goals, marketing and performance, sales and customer engagement, operational excellence, and the most neglected and important one, which is self-mastery and leadership. And as we get into this, and I'm just going to tell you this now, if you see me look down and to the right, it's because I'm looking at my iPad, because I have been growing and reflecting and realizing how much more valuable I can make these shows for you by having notes and questions and reflections and structure. And so I'm looking at my iPad because I have everything laid out with the questions I'm going to be asking you in each one of those core buckets, and action steps for you to take so that you can have the results that you desire. You can bring your vision to life. You can bring yourself to life. You can focus on the goals. You can reflect on what's worked and what hasn't worked, and use this as like your permission slip and your recipe to celebrate all of which you've accomplished by looking at the gain that you've made instead of focusing on the gap ahead. But then integrate that information and make a plan to attack 2025, 2026, or even down the road, because I want this episode to serve as an anchor for you. So before we even get started, I want you to save this one. I want you to put it somewhere so that anytime you're hitting a point where you're like, this isn't working, or you're feeling frustration, or you feel like you're not making it towards your goals, or your vision has gotten a little clarity, or you're sacrificing yourself and neglecting yourself in the lens of the business, that you can come back to, have me as a neutral third party give you some prompts and questions to state change you, to give you a path or to find the ingredients needed to take that next step in your life or in your business. And so before we get into this, I want to talk about why reflection matters. Okay. So reflection is not about reminiscing. Reflection is not about looking back at the past and being like, oh, I could have done this or I could have done that. Reflection's a tool. It is one of the most powerful tools that we have. And when you hire a coach or when you work with me, one of the things that we do is the first thing we do is we reflect. We look back. Because when we look back and reflect, it gives us clues and it gives us data to make decisions off of. It gives us tools to gain clarity. It allows us to celebrate wins, to build momentum, build confidence, and get another bite of clarity. And it helps us identify growth opportunities, which is what we're really, really doing. The game of entrepreneurship and the game of life is a game of improvement, iterations, and self-mastery. And so in today's episode, we're going to be reviewing these core buckets of these functions. I'm going to invite you to celebrate your successes and also make a plan for your future growth. And so, like I said, the 5 buckets that we're going to be going over are your vision and goals, your marketing performance, your sales and customer engagement, your operational excellence, which is my trimmed down version of like efficiency and not bloated operations, and self-mastery and leadership. And so we're going to start with vision and goals, right? And so when we're working in the vision and goals bucket, what we're really looking at is the progress that we made, are the actions that we've taken, are the steps that we've done brought us closer to our vision, brought more clarity to our vision, or have they moved us away from it and we've fallen out of alignment? We're serving customers we don't want to serve. We're delivering in a way that doesn't light us up, right? And so I have some questions for you, and there's 4 questions in this one. And in the show notes, we're going to have these questions. But my invitation for you as we go through these is to actually give yourself the gift of space and reflection. As Keith Cunningham calls this in his book, The Road Less Stupid, thinking time. Abe Lincoln was measure twice, cut once. But it's really being intentional and integrous with what we've looked at, what we've done, and then what we're going to do to bring our vision and goals to life. And so I'm going to lay out the questions for you right now. So question number 1, when focusing on your vision and goals, did I stay aligned with my mission and long-term vision? Did I stay aligned with my mission and long-term vision? And if you're in that bucket of like, I don't have a vision, well, we're going to start there. And when it gets to vision, here's my one piece of coaching on vision. Vision is not having a crystal clear picture of every single room, the color of the walls. It's having an idea of what you would like it to look like so that you have a direction to head. I call them fuzzy goals, because the visions that we want to build have never been built before. And if they have been, they're somebody else's. And so it's not that you need to know the paint of the walls, the dimensions of the room. It's like, here's what I want my house to look like, or in the direction that I want my house to be. And so question number 1 is, did I stay aligned with my mission and long-term vision? And if you don't have a vision, then I invite you to sit down and create one. We have an exercise inside the Alliance where we help people do this, both personally and professionally. But for you, nobody else can dictate your vision. Nobody can tell you what your business should look like. Nobody can tell you where you should be spending your time. Nobody can tell you what your life, your environment, your friendships, your body, your physical health. Only you can do that. And your unconscious mind, if you go back and listen to the episode with TJ, knows the answers. It's the things that make you feel in the deepest level of alignment. And when looking at our mission and vision, it's about progress and iterations, not perfection. So question number 1 is, did I stay aligned with my mission and long-term vision? Question number 2, which goals did I achieve and why? And as you're going through these questions, I would invite you to answer them in 2 buckets. I would invite you to answer them in the personal bucket, which is in relationship to yourself. And then I would invite you to answer them in the business bucket, in relationship to your vision, because your vision in the business is one thing, but you becoming the person to run that business and run that vision is another one. And so the second question is, which goals did I achieve and why did I achieve them? So when you're reflecting back, it's about looking back at the progress that we've made or the gain that we've made. And the goal here is for everything that we wanted, for everything that we made progress in, to celebrate every single one of those wins. I'll save you the science. I just promise it works. And in the ones where we look at what goals did I achieve, what did I learn from those goals? Like, what did I do that worked? What was the secret to that? What did I do in my environment? What did I do with my team? What did I do with my customers that helped me achieve those goals? Question number 3, what progress did I make on ongoing goals? What progress did I make on ongoing goals? And so when it comes to goals, there's goals that have a finish line, right? Because they're a project or something we wanted to achieve. But then there's goals that are ongoing that we're going to be continue to grow in. And so when we're looking at these goals, we want to look at them with integrity. There's no fault or blame or guilt or shame here. It's just information. And the way that I frame this in my brain is I think of myself as like a triage nurse, right? Like I look at what are the symptoms? What are the things that I did that worked? What are the things that might be missing that are causing me to be inconsistent or get in the way? But I ask myself is what progress did I make with my ongoing goals? Which then leads us to question number 4. What goals fell by the wayside and what can I learn from that? What goals fell by the wayside and what can I learn from that? And these 4 questions are the 4 questions that you will use. And I invite you to type them down, type them in a doc or write them down. And I promise you that pen to paper or marker to whiteboard is way more effective than typing because it allows you to slow down and be present and not be distracted by the computer. And you want to give yourself space with these 4 questions under your vision and goals. And so the questions again are, did I stay aligned with my mission and long-term vision? Question 2, which goals did I achieve and why did I achieve them? Number 3, what progress did I make on ongoing goals? And number 4, what goals fell by the wayside and what can I learn from that? And those are the 4 questions to give yourself space to sit with your vision and goals, to ask yourself, what in the last year, what in the last 6 months, what in the last 3 months has worked really, really well? What has brought me closer to my vision? What has brought me clarity there? What goals did I achieve that I get to celebrate? What ongoing goals have I focused on that I'm working on and what progress did I make? And then what goals did I say were important to me, did I say I wanted to achieve? And where did they fall off? What got in the way of them falling off? Whether it's your environment, your friends, your lack of coaching, your lack of perspective, you're over consuming instead of creating. And what can I learn from that? And then when I'm reflecting, there's 3 specific questions that I ask myself that a coach of mine gave me over a decade ago, and they still work really well to this day because it focuses on getting clarity down to actionable items. And the 3 questions are this. When you're answering each one of these questions, what 3 things worked? So in my goals that I achieved, what are the 3 things that worked that if I kept doing them were going to get me there? You want to keep those. What 3 things did not work? Like what are the things that I tried or that I was inconsistent with that every time I did them, they didn't lead me closer to my goal? Because you're going to want to eliminate or protect those. And then the third question, which I would venture to say is the most important, is what 3 things am I going to do differently moving forward? And those are the ones to take action on. And so step number 1 with vision and goals, as you go through these buckets, is to isolate each one, work on your vision and goals, and then work on the following sections and give yourself breaks in between. And so my invitation for you is to revisit your vision and ensure that it reflects where you want to go. And when you get clarity, identify one goal that you can refine or refocus on in the new year. And that's for your vision and your goals. So the second bucket is your marketing performance, okay? And when it comes to your marketing performance, I have 4 reflection questions for your marketing performance. Question number 1 is what marketing strategies worked well this year? Yes, I talk about strategies and I talk about tactics, just not as the primary focus. But what marketing strategies worked well this year? Oh, every time I sent a video message to a new follower, it created a connection point that supported my vision. That would be one, right? Or every time I jumped on a triage call with people, it worked better than sending them to a sales call. Every time I created this type of content, it brought more people into my ecosystem. So question number 1 is which marketing strategies worked well this year? Question number 2 is what did not resonate with my audience and why? What did I do under the lens of marketing? What did I do under the lens of messaging that did not resonate with my ideal audience, and why didn't it resonate? And with this question, I would invite you to ask yourself, to ask your team or the people that are involved in you supporting your business. And the most important and neglected bucket is ask your customers. Data is really, really important, and direct from the source data, which means directly from consumers, is most valuable, as well as auditing your own content. And so this is something that we do. We do focus groups. We put our community on calls. I ask my clients, hey, how did this land? Did this deliver well? And I love my clients because they're like, hey, that Instagram post you did, it activated me. Like, it kind of pissed me off and I felt called out. I'm like, thank you for the feedback. It helps me know what to communicate and when to communicate. The third question is, what channels or efforts yielded the most engagement? So what channels, meaning like Instagram, Reels, Lives, your Facebook group, your YouTube, your podcast, of the channels that you operate on and that you play on in your business, which ones yielded the most engagement? Or what efforts did you take that yielded the most engagement? So I know for me personally, when I put intentional effort into serving other people's communities for free, whether it's keynoting to their audience or doing calls with their masterminds, it brings in a new audience and people for me to build relationships with. And not even just customers, just to support my mission of changing the conversation about business and bringing relationships back in. And so the question is, what channels or efforts yielded the most engagement? Okay. And then the last question, and this is the most neglected question and a very, very important one, is how have my audience's needs or preferences evolved? Marketing is not rigid. Relationships are not rigid. And the ecosystem in which we all play in business is not rigid. We've seen the tools change. We've seen Instagram change. We've seen podcasting change. And when the platform change, we have to adjust. But we also have to understand that our ideal audience and our customers and the people that we serve, their needs and their preferences evolve. And our job is to be reflective on those things, to figure out where to best put our attention and our energy to be able to meet our customers. So in the lens of marketing and marketing performance, the 4 questions are this: what marketing strategies worked well this year? What did not resonate with my audience and why? What channels or efforts yielded the most engagement? And how have my audience's needs or preferences evolved? And before I move on, I would like to say that in the lens of the question, the second one is, what didn't resonate with my audience and why? The easiest thing to do here is, we as human beings can always find the things that didn't work way faster than we can find the things that worked. And so when answering these questions, if you write down with integrity without feeling bad or wrong, because nothing works perfectly and it's all about iterations and improvement, when you get clarity in those answers, you can use inversion theory and flip them around and know that the opposite of those things would be things to try that might resonate better, and it gives you clarity on the other side of the coin. And so when you're reflecting on your marketing, when you're reflecting on the answers to these questions, what you're looking for is to find the marketing strategies, the channels, or the efforts that were effective, and double down on those. Increase the amount of energy that you give them, because if they worked, you can push the gas pedal and try to make them work more effectively while iterating them. And if you have the capacity and it does not cannibalize what's currently working, then you may want to start experimenting with a new platform or a new content type to expand the reach. And even as you're watching this podcast, I'm going through this right now, and I have my iPhone set up as a second camera, because we've learned that when we're making reels and when we're making content, people actually respond better when I'm not staring at the camera directly and when it's a side profile of my face. And so we're experimenting with this, and I'm using 2 cameras to see if I can reach more people and help and serve more people. And so that's the reflection on the marketing bucket, which now brings us into the third bucket: sales and customer engagement. And so in this bucket, there are 4 questions, same as before. And your goal is to write these down and give yourself space and a date, because you're worth it, to reflect and fill these answers out with integrity. And I will also say that the more energy you put into filling these out, the more results that you will get. If you treat this like it's a hobby, or you treat this like it's just a checkbox or something you have to do, then you're going to get the same equal value out of the other side. And so I would treat these like they're important, because they are. The more clarity you have in the data, the more reflection that you do, the more confidence you'll have in the actions that you take to be able to get to the next level of business. So here are the 4 questions. Question number 1: what offers or products resonated the most with my audience? What offers or products resonated the most with my audience? It's fun to build a business. It's fun to have offers. It's fun to open a restaurant. But if you open a restaurant and only put what you want on the menu and nobody orders it, and you keep those things on the menu, no one's going to support your business, and you're not going to stay in your business. And the success of business comes down to making sure that when we open a restaurant, we put items on the menu that we love and we love making, but also that people want to order, that they resonate with. Question number 2: where did I experience the most growth in sales? So what platform, what effort, what medium, what mechanism, where in my business did I experience the most growth in sales? And I know I have clients that I'm currently coaching who assumed that their business was going to scale through their group offer. But the market dictated that they all wanted one-on-one coaching, and that became a completely different focus in the business, which required some adjustments on the back, because the audience was demanding more personalized approaches than the group program. And so you have to reflect on, where did I experience the most growth in sales? Question number 3, and get ready, because you know I drill this one in more than anything in 500 something episodes. How effective was my follow-up, my customer journey, and my customer relationship strategy? How effective was it? Did I have people confused? Did I have them not knowing where to find information? Did I have people asking for refunds before they thought they would? Were people saying they felt overwhelmed? This is the core of this podcast and what I help you with, which is customer journey, which is relationships, to make sure that people are getting the results of your magic so that you can double down on them and bring more in. And so how effective was my follow-up and customer relationship strategy? Did I commit the 3 mistakes that George always teaches us: the zone of doubt, the inverse journey, and the fire hose, or the drown the journey? Am I spending more of my time managing back and forth communication than I am coaching or delivering results? All of that information are the ingredients that help us solve the problems that end up being the ceiling to people's businesses growing. So question number 3 is, how effective was my follow-up and customer journey or customer relationship strategy? And then number 4, the one that makes me sweat, the one that still makes me nervous to this day, but the one that has the most impact on your business, is, what feedback did I receive from my customers? What feedback did I receive from my customers? And did I integrate it and adjust it, or did I ignore it? If they filled out post-event forms, if you got off a coaching call and they said I was confused, if they said I don't know where to find the information, what feedback did I receive from my customers, and did I integrate it or adjust it? And so when you start to reflect on these and you give yourself the time and space to find the clarity, what you're also going to find are all the symptoms that are getting in the way of you bringing more customers in, because your time, energy, or capacity is leaking out the back with these symptoms that can be treated by getting to the root and solving them. And so your action step here is to refine or scale the top performing offer or the top performing thing that people are buying, and then to build a stronger feedback loop with customers to improve your offers. And it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a low ticket item, a membership, a one-on-one coaching, an event, an audit, a sales process, it doesn't matter what it is. The more feedback that you have and the more iterations that you can make and continually make in that process, the more results both you and the customers will achieve, which will allow you with confidence to bring more in and scale your business. And so those are the reflection questions in the marketing bucket. And now we get into bucket number 4, which is the operational excellence bucket. I just decided to name it that because I think operational excellence comes down to minimum effective processes that allow us to focus more on the outcome and the result and not get lost in the process. And so that's how I want your view to be in this, because I've come across many, many clients who spend a majority of their time managing their process instead of managing their people. And there are plenty of times where you can over inundate yourself with work because you're checking boxes that don't really move the needle and they're getting in the way of our effectiveness. Okay. So here's the questions for operational excellence. Question number 1 is, which systems and processes worked well this year? Which systems and processes worked well this year? Question number 2, where did bottlenecks or inefficiencies arise? Where did bottlenecks or inefficiencies arise? And this is to my point. Are you spending more time managing a process than managing the outcomes it creates? And so just because we have a process and we started with that process doesn't mean it's the most effective process, or doesn't mean it's the fastest process, or even that it's the process that everybody feels the most empowered with to get the result, especially if it's you and your own process, to where we get lost in the processes. And right off the top of my mind, I have a client who has an incredible podcast, and we realized that there were about 17 unneeded steps in the podcast process that was delaying its publishing and also costing them a couple of $1,000s a month, that could be solved by changing the order of the process, because we sat down and we found the bottlenecks and inefficiencies. And once we are aware of them, we systematically solved them. Question number 3, how did my team or resources contribute to or hinder my success? How did my team or resources contribute to or hinder my success? And this also includes you. If you're a solopreneur, if you have a team, if you're managing agencies, if you're outsourcing, we are the most important critical team member, because we also tend to have an emotional attachment to the business. And so we have to look at ourselves in this vein as well. And I know for me, I've hindered our success because I will forget to respond to things, or I'll put things off till a deadline and I'll be reactive instead of proactive. But the downstream effect is it affects my CEO, Ashley. It affects our editor. It affects our team. It affects my clients. And it's something that I get to reflect on so that I can bring a tool or a habit or a behavioral shift in that will allow me to be more efficient so that everybody else can be more efficient. So question number 3 is, how did my team or resources contribute to or hinder success? And then question number 4, how adaptable was my business to unexpected challenges? How adaptable was my business to unexpected challenges? You're going to get a flat tire. You're going to lose your client. You're going to have people get refunds. You're going to have situations and events occur, both from us creating them, but also the world creating them. And it's not a question of if they're going to happen. It's a guarantee that they're going to happen. And how quickly can we adjust or adapt to be able to protect the vision of the business and to be able to protect our energy, our inputs, and the integrity of them, to bring it back to where we'd like, or to make that adjustment and be able to achieve the next goal. So the 4 questions in operational excellence: what systems or processes worked well this year? Where did bottlenecks or inefficiencies arise? How did my team or resources contribute to or hinder success? How adaptable was my business to unexpected challenges? And in the bucket of operations, here's your action steps. Choose one process to automate or improve in the next quarter. Now, you're going to want to do them all, but I would choose the most challenging one, the one that's costing you the most time, or the one that's keeping you awake at night, or the one that you just can't find a solution for, and get some outside counsel. Call me, shoot me a DM on Instagram, ask somebody that you know, like, and trust, ask somebody who's done it before, and borrow some creativity and get it solved with iterations to improve, to buy back your time and buy back your capacity. And number 2 is document key workflows to make scaling easier in the new year. And it's really about keeping it simple. You can put them in a Google Doc. You can have them in Notion. You don't need beefy places and processes and this whole thing. You need something that's effective that people can follow. Because it's not the tool that makes the difference. It's not the process that makes the difference. It's everybody's willingness to follow it and iterate it. And we even did a podcast with my dear friend Gabby, who runs an incredible agency. And the point that she made is that the biggest mistake a lot of us entrepreneurs make is we never document our own processes and keep them simple. So we end up being the biggest bottleneck. And so make sure that you're documenting the key workflows to make scaling or hiring, or even for you, having a plan or a path to follow when things might feel challenging or hard, so that everything is easier in the new year. Which brings us to our last bucket, which is the most neglected and most important bucket in my opinion, which is self-mastery and leadership. It's self-mastery and leadership. And the way that I talk about this all the time, and I've probably repeated Alex Sharfin's quote more times than any other quote, which is, you don't have the business you want because you haven't become the person to run it. And if we think about this as a professional sport, whether you're football, basketball, whatever, pick one, every one of those sports teams has players and they have a playbook. And the playbook is what they follow and execute to be able to win the game. But if I grab that playbook and I give it to somebody who's never played the sport, the plays might be the same, but they don't have the ability, the capacity, or the skills to be able to execute that playbook. And when it comes to our success in life and in business, we have two buckets that we have to focus on. We have the business itself, which is where we express ourselves, where we put the reps in and flex those muscles. But then we have ourself. We have how we're showing up, how we see the world. What's our mindset like? Are we taking care of our physical body? Are we filling our heart? Are we doing things for ourselves and reflecting so that we can grow as leaders or as entrepreneurs or as coaches to consistently improve and make sure that we're doing the best to deliver the results that we promise? And so I have 4 reflection questions for you under the bucket of self-mastery and leadership. Question number 1, what personal habits supported my growth as a leader? What personal habits supported my growth as a leader, right? When I kept my morning routine, when I followed the quadrants that George teaches me, when I used the wedge of expectations, I was consistent and it created A, B, and C. What personal habits supported my growth as a leader? Question number 2, how did I handle challenges, both emotionally and mentally? How did I handle challenges, both emotionally and mentally? I know for me that when challenges arise, my default is to isolate away from the people who can shift my perspective or help me navigate them. When things get hard, when I get rocked, I have a default to become a lone wolf. That doesn't support me, nor the goals or the vision. But I also have to be aware of when I was faced with challenges and when things came up, how I handled them both emotionally and mentally, so that I can make intentional adjustments so that when they happen again, which they will, I have a plan or a practice or a support system in place to be able to navigate them, handle and feel my emotions, shift my mindset into action, and then get to work to bring it back into integrity. Question number 3, which values guided my decisions? Which values guided my decisions, and did they evolve or change? And I think underneath this question, there's a deeper question, which is, did I operate with my values that I claim to be important? Did I take a client for money even though I didn't want to work with them? Did I overextend myself because I was afraid to have a boundary and communicate that this is out of the scope? Only you know the answer to this question. But which values guided my decisions, and did they evolve? Did my values evolve? Is there something that I value now more than I valued before? Have I had clients texting me at 9 p.m. and it doesn't really support me and I need to increase my container or ask for a tighter boundary? Only you know the answer to this one, but which values guided my decisions and did they evolve? And then the 4th one, I'm calling myself out on this one. How did I prioritize self-care and work-life harmony? How did I prioritize self-care and work-life harmony. I know for me personally, because this feels like my therapy couch and I just get to live raw and wide open, that when things get hard or that I get triggered by a situation and I emotionally and mentally pull out and lone wolf, I also tend to over hustle, even though my values are not hustle. I'll get lost in distractions. I'll get lost in the to-do-ist and I'll throw my food out the window. I'll stop getting my steps in. I'll miss my prayer time. I won't consume things from my mindset. And it tends to be a spiral of self-sabotage. And my solution to that is to have priorities, containers in place where I say I have to earn the right to touch my business, and making sure that before I'm in that bucket or before I'm in the business or before I'm feeling those feelings, that I've plugged into my heart and my faith, that I've worked out my physical body, that I've focused on my mindset. But it's not this finish line. It's not rigid. It's iterative. And no matter how well I do, and I turn my phone off before bed, some nights I get stuck in YouTube short scrolling or I end up playing on my phone. And truthfully, I've been playing this new game on my phone called Darts that I play with my son, and I love it. And I found myself at 11:30 at night on a weekday still playing it. I'm like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be asleep 90 minutes ago. So I had to use screen time on my phone and block myself from using it because I'll end up sneakily self-sacrificing, and then it affects my day the next day. And I think the easiest place to neglect our growth is the bucket of ourself, because it's really easy to hide in business. But the biggest area for growth that has the most exponential results is ourself. It's us prioritizing our work-life harmony. It's us prioritizing our self-care. It's ensuring that we're feeding the machine, that this F1 race car of ours in this professional sport of entrepreneurship can perform its best. And it's different for each and every person. For yours, it might be space and nature, bubble baths, quality time with people, reading, journaling. But those tend to be the things that we throw out the window when things get hard in business. And it doesn't state change us or support us in coming back into perspective to be able to focus on the right buckets. So the 4 questions to reflect on your self-mastery and leadership is: what personal habits supported my growth as a leader? How did I handle challenges emotionally and mentally? Which values guided my decisions and did they evolve? And how did I prioritize self-care and work-life balance? And here is your action step for this section. Commit to one personal development, personal growth, personal habit or goal, practice consistently, and hold yourself to it. Whether it's journaling or meditating or getting your steps in or filling your bucket or hitting the quadrants like you've heard me teach. Pick one after this reflection and put your life on the line. Like, understand that what you get out of this is what you'll put into this, but you're worth it. And if you need accountability, because a lot of people ask, like, how do I get held accountable? How do I get held accountable? Nobody can hold you accountable to yourself. But I will say that the more publicly you are about your declarations to people you care about, whether it's your family, your partner, your business partners, or you can even tell me, the more likely you are to follow through with them. And the big way to do it is make a reverse bet. If you're like, God, I want to do this, but I'm scared that I won't, pick a charity that you can't stand, that goes against all your values, and write a blank check to them at the end of the goal window, whether it's a 90-day commitment, a 60-day commitment, and write a blank check to them for a painful amount of money, and make a deal with yourself and tell somebody you love that if I don't follow through with this consistently, you have to mail this check for me. Kind of extreme, but it worked on me a couple years ago, and it works really, really well. And the next action step in this bucket is to set a boundary for yourself or create a system where you can focus on yourself and better manage the challenges of business, the physical challenges, the emotional challenges, and the mental challenges, knowing that you're a human and you're allowed to be emotional and you're allowed to feel and you're allowed to grow and you're allowed to process. But all too often we fall into this trap of thinking that we can't. We have to have it all together. We have to show up all the time. And we end up showing up at our worst and expecting our best, instead of protecting ourselves, getting ourselves back to our best, and then choosing how to play the game. And so as you go through this, I want you to set some intentional time. And I'm not joking. Write down every one of these questions and create a date with yourself and give yourself the time and space to reflect on your vision, reflect on your marketing, reflect on your sales, reflect on your operations, and reflect on your self-mastery, so that you can find the gift of clarity. You can see all the things that you've accomplished because there's always something to celebrate, and gain momentum to then take into the future with excitement, knowing that there's always going to be room for improvement. And the moment we have clarity on what can be improved, the moment we have a plan to start executing to live in that improvement. And so what I would love for you to do is to genuinely put this pen to paper. Write these questions down and give yourself a journal, give yourself a piece of paper, give yourself a whiteboard, and I encourage you to journal these. I encourage you to write these down and go, put them all in. Answer every question, leave no stone unturned, and answer these reflection questions for yourself. Even better is if you do them with a partner, or do them with somebody in your team, or do them with your team, or do them anywhere where you're not doing them alone, but you can be witness to them and held accountable to them. And what I would love for you to do is, in these reflection questions, in any of the clarity, whether it's a key takeaway that you learned in them or a goal that you have, is share them with me on social media. Post them to your story and share them with your audience and tag me, or shoot them to me in a DM so that I can celebrate with you and also help hold you accountable, because I believe in you and I love you. And I do this with you publicly. I've even shared on this podcast and the one I just did with Ashley about my goals and what I want to do differently and how I get to show up better. And the more we're witnessing it, the more likely we are to be consistent and to live in the breakthrough. And so I'll end with this. Reflection is a gift that you give yourself. And whether your year was filled with triumphs or challenges, every single step contributes to your growth. So embrace how far you've come and approach the new year with confidence and purpose, because you're worth it. And the answers that you're looking for, the steps that you want to take, are inside of the questions and the time that you give yourself to answer them. And so I hope you wrap your 2024, holy moly, with love and with grace and with celebration. And I'm also excited for the clarity that gives you a path to follow in 2025. And if I can help you in any way, if I can serve you in any way, if I can support you in any way, shoot me a DM on Instagram. My Instagram is It's George Bryant. We will have all of these reflection questions in the show notes. And I do have a selfish ask, because one of the areas that I get to be improved in is asking for what I want. But I know these questions land because I've ran them by my clients. I use them with my clients and they're like, those are so good. So if you know anybody who can benefit from these, or anybody that could use these to find clarity, my ask is that you please send them this show. Please send them the link to this show. Tell them who I am. Tell them this bald, crazy guy with tattoos who people are scared of sometimes, but people love because he wears pink, is here to support. Or you support them, set a date with them, and you guys go through these questions together. But spread the love, and don't let this be something you just listen to and don't take action on. And so I love you to pieces. I will either see you in the next episode or you will hear me in your earballs. But either way, we're out. God bless.